Hey pals, I just finished one of my regular video recordings, and so I was thinking about it. Somebody mentioned on my community tab that they would like to know what I'm reading, because I think I used to do that, let you guys know what I'm currently reading. And I thought, well, it might be fun to do book reviews. I don't know, but it's been a long time since I've done off-the-cuff videos on the regular, and I don't want to spend a lot of time editing. So let's give this a go, see how it works out. I just finished a book, The Cabin at the End of the World, which you probably know because I probably titled this video this. And I picked it up because I heard that it was going to be a movie. M. Night Shyamalan is, that's probably not how you say that. I don't know. Anyway, he's doing a movie version, and I heard that it was existential horror and that it was good. So I'm like, oh, I love existential horror. So let's give that one a go. And I was a little skeptical because of the Stephen King quote. I don't love Stephen King, but I have a lot of respect for Stephen King, but I don't personally really enjoy his books that much. So that should have been a major tip-off that I was not going to enjoy this book. But I did actually enjoy it, but overall I would not recommend people read this in general. First, I'll just give you the overview of it, and then we're going to dig into the spoilers. So, The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay is about two parents, Eric and Andrew, who are I think they're from Boston or somewhere, and they take a vacation with their adopted daughter, who's 7, named Wen. They take her to a cabin on a lake in New Hampshire that's completely remote, typical scary story location. And the action starts really quickly, which I appreciate. Almost immediately, a large, strange man shows up and starts talking to Wen in the front yard, while her daddies are in the back and don't know he's there. And he's very suspicious. He clearly just tries to make a connection with her. And before not too much more time passes, 3 of his cohorts show up. They are carrying cobbled together, scary looking weapons, and they are all dressed kind of similarly in plain button-down shirts and pants. And they attempt to force their way into the cabin. They get into the cabin eventually, and they take the 3 people hostage. And they tell them that the 3 of them must choose which of them is going to sacrifice themselves, die, in order to save the world. And if they do not make this choice, then the apocalypse will happen, basically. And they will live, the 3 of them will live, but the rest of the world will die around them. Great concept, I think. And it's a very easy read. I think the writing is pretty good, and it kept me reading. I finished the book very quickly, but I hated the ending. Hated it. And so I think I'm going to end the non-spoiler portion there. Oh, although I will say the only thing I know about the movie version of this is that what's his name was cast as the first guy who shows up. He, I think in the movie, is played by Dave Bautista, who's Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that was perfect casting. And because I had seen that Dave Bautista was in the movie before I started this, as soon as this guy showed up, I was like, that's Dave Bautista. And so great casting. I will still watch the movie because there's a chance that they'll do things with it that will adjust what I didn't like about the book. But yeah, so I would not recommend this book, but it is an easy, if you want something to breeze through pretty quickly and you don't mind a bit of bloody violence. I would class it as horror. It's the existential part is the part of existential horror that I really enjoy. I like things that make me think about thinking and think about greater things than just stuff popping out at you and violence and whatever. I'm not that interested in horror. If you love the horror genre, then this might be up your alley and you might enjoy it more than I did. Okay, so stop here if you don't want any spoilers. Okay? Giving you time. I'm giving you time because I'm not going to feel like editing this. So we're just baking the necessary edits right into this one take. Okay, so I hated the way this book ends because the setup, all right, is that the thing that makes this interesting is that's what an impossible choice. You know, it's two people who love each other very much as spouses and this child that they adopted as a baby and have watched, you know, have raised. And you get a lot of backstory about their lives and their marriage and, you know, their relationship with each other and their relationship with Wen. And so that really bakes it in. Like, number one, are they going to believe these people? Number two, if they do believe them, are they going to make that choice? And then number three, what are the consequences of that choice? Like, those are the things that are interesting. And this book pretty much failed on every level to make any of those, to answer any of those in an interesting manner. Like, will they believe them? So one of the couple is religious and obviously more credulous than the other. And because this is kind of an inherently religious belief, there's a bit of talk about like, well, what God do you guys, what cult are you from? And they're like, the thing that makes it interesting is none of these people even knew each other before they came to the cabin. And so they're there because of these visions that they were all shown independently of each other. They found each other on the internet, and then they knew that they had to come and force these people to make this choice. And so it would be interesting if the one partner who does believe them more than the other partner, if we got more insight into him, as opposed to just like, oh, he's religious and so he's just kind of dumb, or like not dumb, but more likely to believe them. We don't get any time for him to really believe them and then to convince his husband of his belief. And it's not just a belief without evidence. You know, they have, they turn on the TV, they see these apocalyptic events that they predicted coming true. And that is evidence. And there are some interesting moments where the skeptical one explains how those things could have happened through coincidence, through manipulation on the part of these people. That part was interesting, but it wasn't fully fleshed out. It seemed like the writer just had no interest in that sort of back and forth. And I think that that's too bad. I would have liked to have seen some heated debate between the partners over like whether or not to actually believe them. And because of that, the ending loses its oomph. So in the end, they do have to make a decision. And again, spoilers, full spoilers. They decide to not make a sacrifice. And there's no reckoning with that. And I'm absolutely okay with books, movies, media that leaves things at the end open to interpretation. Like, we don't know what happened. That's fine. But in this case, like, that's the entire point of this. That's the interesting part to me. We don't have to follow them to the end of the world, but they have, like, it wraps up and it's like, we're not going to kill each other. Yeah, okay. And, you know, at that point, one of them still didn't believe that the world was really going to end. And the other one presumably kind of did, but we don't get any exploration of his thought process. Like, it's from, you know, the book is written, each chapter is from a different perspective, a different character's perspective. So why don't we get to go inside the religious guy's head a bit more and see him wrestle? Like, I would like it if he had, by this point, by the end of the book, if he has, personally, the interesting thing to me would be he would fully believe that this is going to happen, that this apocalypse is going to happen. And if he still makes the choice to not make a sacrifice, you know, he could sacrifice himself, but he doesn't. Is that selfish? How does he feel about that? How does he feel about, you know, as a religious person, how does he really feel about a God who would do this to his children? Those things are hinted at without ever really being fleshed out in an interesting way. I'm not left with anything to wrestle over. I'm not left with what would I do in the same situation, because there's really no internal monologue. There's no emotion to the end besides, like, I guess love wins, but like not love for humanity, because presumably you've just doomed billions of other people to die. But none of the author just doesn't seem to concern himself with any of that, which is his choice. But I think a smarter book would have dealt with those things in a more interesting manner that would have kept me more captivated and more invested in each of these characters. Like, I personally, if I were to offer rewrite notes, I would love to hear more from their individual internal monologues of these two people who are a lot alike at the beginning, and then we see how they differ, and giving us that sort of view to their internal monologues in the most important decision they will ever make in their lives. And its aftermath, the aftermath of that decision, how they square that with their life philosophies, like, that would have been interesting to me. And I was disappointed that it didn't go there. It just sort of, we're not going to kill each other. Okay. Like, all right. Good for you, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, kind of like great premise, but I think like ultimately a poor execution. But who knows? Like, sometimes movies completely switch things up. I'm interested. I'll watch the movie when it comes out streaming. I won't rush to the theater. There are certain movies that I will get COVID for. This probably won't be one of them, but I'll be interested to see what they do with it. So, if you're interested, if you liked this, I think I liked it. This was fine. So maybe I'll do the next one. I just finished reading Neuromancer for the first time by William Gibson, older cyberpunk book, the cyberpunk book. So if you guys are interested, I'll do a little review of that next week. Let me know in the comments if you liked this. So that's it. Back to editing videos for me. Not this one, though.